13 Questions by Man Transcending. Manhood in the Digital Age.
Welcome back to 13 Questions, everybody. This episode's guest is Matt Wilbur. Matt is the owner, or one of the owners and founders of fitnessrebellion.com. We will be doing a giveaway to one of our lucky listeners. To enter the giveaway, just send us an email.
Well, Bill, let me just say this first before we even dive into that. I got to prime this because what I'm fascinated with the show is I thought that when we had people reaching out to us, that it wouldn't be as genuine, if that's the right word. This was an amazing podcast. I really, really enjoyed this one. This one went way longer than I thought it was going to go and jived in all the right directions. It was a lot of fun. And like, I'm a little bit jealous of the listeners, legitimately, because Matthew is offering to spend 17 weeks of time with him and his team, something that costs over like $2,000 or something as a package if you were to enroll normally with this. Like, this is it's an intensive, holistic, encompassing, look at your life. If you like, I think what he said is if you want to look, if you want to move better, look better, and feel better, like this is the program for you. Whether it's with people that are have trained people in the NFL, whether it's fitness trainers, health and nutrition, I think he mentioned psychologist or something like that. Anyways, the point is he's looking at all angles of how you can make a better person, creating a routine for you. He's got a video that we're going to link in the description below. We just got off the podcast with him, so I haven't watched it yet, but that is going to give you a much better rundown, and I'm excited for you guys. So the point is, you listener, I hope you enjoy this episode with Matthew. His fitness company seems amazing, and I say that like I'm going to hop back to a guest we just we had, Madison Miller. I gave the book to my coworker. I haven't read it yet. He has a child. He finished reading it. He said, this book is amazing. He goes, I will give this book to like almost anybody. He goes, it is really good. He goes, this is great for raising my child. He goes, but not even that. He goes, as I'm reading this, he goes, I realized that I could replace the word manager with child on every single one of these pages.
Or replace the word child with manager.
Or replace the word child with manager. Shit, how was I going to tie that in?
How Matt, everything just fell in way too synchronistically between the two Matts, because we will have a second interview when we announce the winner with Matt DeBarra, the other founder of the company. But yeah, it was just their interest.
This is what I was going to say. Yeah. I know what I'm going to say. Okay. So that was a book, like, I knew it was going to be a great book, and it's a book I really want to read. And I knew that based on talking to Mattis. It was great. It's like, oh man, like I can just tell that, that there's some substances in this. And so that's the same thing. Like when we talked to Matt tonight, it was the same thing. I'm going, okay, like I can see the value of you and your beliefs and what you're doing and how that can translate. So anyways, that's, I was super excited just to bring that to everybody. So I hope you go out and check out Mattis's episode and the link to his book. And I'll give you a better rundown once I get to digesting it.
Yeah. Both guests, Mattis and Matthew, were very authentic. Matthew DeBarra, who you'll hear when we announce the winner, you'll get to. Also very authentic. Matthew Wilbur is tonight's guest, and he reached out to. Well, as we said, we're going to do the giveaway. We'll touch on that a little bit later, just in a few seconds. I just want to get to how we know Matt. Matt, I had no knowledge of this website, his business, Fitness Rebellion. .com or of Matt's until he reached out to the show. I didn't ask him what episode that he listened to. I probably should have. That got him interested in wanting to collaborate, but that was the first email was, do you want to collaborate and do you want to do this giveaway? And of course we're going to do that. It sounds awesome. And especially after talking to both of them, these guys, from my judge of character, which obviously I think is pretty good, but I'll let you be the judge of that, listener. But both guys, and from what I've seen on the website, it's
exactly. Well, what I got from them and what
Yep.
they said to me, and it made sense. They're following their passion and they're trying to help people, and they're trying to do it the best way they can. And that's the most beautiful thing, because then you're not really working and you're bringing help and value. And that's exactly the thing. It's like, that's what I want to do. And hopefully that's what I'm going to be able to do, is bring that to somebody for you guys too. So yeah, it seems to speak in his work. He seems to be to walking the line of his personal belief and, the things that he's done for himself, which we get into on the episode, how health and nutrition really became a core way of being for, helping him, get along in a world where he didn't get along with very many people. I don't mean that in a negative way, but like, he just didn't have a lot in common with people around him. And so, yeah, we get into it. And yeah, point is, I think that, I can't see why you wouldn't benefit from being part of a program that those dudes would put together. They really seem like they got it going.
Right. And it's, I don't know if we mentioned this already, but 17 weeks. So that's pretty long, in my opinion. And it sounds like it's no BS. It's, from what I've heard and been explained, it's a holistic approach, which is awesome. I think that, if you're going to focus on working out, you can't just be focused on how many reps and how many sets you do. It starts with what you put in your body. So with these guys, you're getting the whole approach. You're not just getting a routine or a schedule to follow.
Well, and that's the cool thing that we didn't talk to him about, but I do love is, you reset your routines and the things that you do and what you think is your regular stuff. Look, if you're addicted to something, stop doing it for, 3 to 4 weeks. And that's when you find out you can really reset, change your behavior, change your modality, and, you're out of that pattern. You pulled yourself out of the rut and made a new one. And so it's kind of cool just to see that their program lines up with that. So, I imagine if you really pay attention and do the things, that you can come out on the flip side.
Yeah. So the holistic approach is awesome. And then the other thing that really impresses me is the accountability aspect that these guys have going on. Like, you're not just getting coaching from one person. They have a whole team. Like Adam mentioned that there's a psychologist on the team, like a bunch of different people with different areas of expertise. And it's the point I'm trying to make is the accountability aspect. And I mentioned this during the episode at the end, was that Darren, his view for this show, this program, this community was part of it was accountability. And we still have the Discord chat. Like, we're there for you guys if you need someone to talk to or want some, help being accountable for something. Like, Adam and I will do anything and everything that we can within our, I'm
not gonna lie, I've popped in there for some positive vibes and post some pet pics and whatnot. It's a good place to go. And we're there. Yeah, reach out to the show.
But I was gonna say, before we move on to there, the accountability aspect, you get that with the 17 weeks. With whoever wins this is going to be involved with somebody that it's somebody to talk to, whether it's Matt or a part of someone from his team, 24/7. So it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. If you're, it just seems, I'm super excited. I wish I could go through this program, but I can't because I'm the host. But yeah, so I don't know. Whoever wins this, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens out of it. What becomes of it. But yeah, Discord. if you want us to be your accountability partners, you can join the Discord. And we hang out there and post interesting links and sometimes say good morning or whatnot. But it's kind of like a rolling chat. It's pretty free flowing. Not a lot of trolls.
Well, we should mention something there. If you would like to sign up for this, just send us an email. It's going to be in the links below. Yep. Show notes, 13questionspodcast@gmail.com. That is the number 13questionspodcast@gmail.com. Rub directly on your forehead.
Yeah, so send us an email with your name, and we'll let that run. We'll let this run for, it depends on how many responses we get, but we will pick a winner probably within the month after this is released. And then we will announce it on the intro to Matthew DeBarra's episode. And in the meantime, you guys can check out fitnessrebellion.com if you want to get some more information on these guys and see what else they're all about. And then other than that, if you don't want to send us an email to get hold of us, we have Telegram, we've got Discord, we have Gab. We have a Gab account. Lots of memes. If you're a meme fan, go check that out. I think we recently got up to 229 or 230 followers.
Oh my God.
Built from the ground up.
Built by you, my friend.
Yeah, buddy. Getting those memes from the Discord channels or the Discord servers I'm in. So if you guys aren't in Discord yet, I'm telling you, you're missing out. You won't find them in our Discord. You have to go to our Gab to get memes. But you know certain places to go in Discord, you can get some good memes. Anyway.
The meme king has spoken.
Meme lord. I think that goes to Ryan from Kansas, but that's not a... that might be up for debate.
I've met Ryan from Kansas.
Yeah. I got to meet him.
You know, it's funny when you
contact with Cabin earlier this year.
Oh, sweet! He was at this one too. Yeah, I met him at the last one before that. Interesting dude.
Yeah.
It was funny when you were talking earlier about having never met me in person. It's funny how many people that you and I have met in person,
but we haven't met each other.
Yeah, that we haven't met each other, and people that you work with regularly. You know, just like whether it's James and I work, you know what I mean? Like you're in the podcasting realm. It's funny that we still have this separation. We've never crossed paths, even though we've been bouncing around these same circles and around the country and doing different things. And
right.
I mean, we're doing a podcast together, so that's something, but the face-to-face has not happened.
Yeah. Someday we'll have to have some kind of like 13 questions get together, gathering or whatever.
Ooh.
Somewhere closer to you where it's warmer.
Oh, sure.
So, what else do we have to go over? Here we go.
Gratitude, 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 oh, gratitude. Gratitude, 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 oh, gratitude.
All right. Do you have one? I just thought of one. I can riff for a minute if you don't have one burning in your mind yet.
I have a burning gratitude, and I'd like to share it with you, Bill.
Go for it.
Actually, I think I already used that one.
Oh, what was it? I'll tell you if you have.
My childhood following of UFOs finally being brought to the forefront and everybody else acknowledging basically what, based on all the evidence I've been exposed to, has essentially been the same truth that's been in existence. Did I mention that at all?
I don't think so, but I'm not the
UFOs as my gratitude doesn't sound familiar.
I don't think so. All right. Unless it was an episode that like you edited and I didn't catch it. I don't remember.
Anyways, I guess I'll do that even if it's again.
I'll count it. It's official.
So, yes. So my gratitude bill is all of the UFO, UAP stuff. As of the date of this recording, let's see, it is June 23rd, the 25th, the UAP, the unidentified aerial phenomenon, or was that the right name? UAP. Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, unidentified aerial phenomenon.
So,
UAP.
yeah, that report is going to be coming out. And it's great to see all the video that's getting leaked out, all the new information that's coming out. But where I'm really grateful is that all this stuff is coming out and being acknowledged by the general populace. Because, I mean, I've been knee deep in the ufology subject as a kid. Watching shows by Leonard Nimoy or Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious Universe. I would get, like, my grandmother would get me videos, like these old videos shot in the 70s, tapes that I would have. I don't have them anymore, but they were like on cattle mutilations, being read by like Rod Sterling. And, just like I watched a lot of those old documentaries. And throughout my life, I've just been steeped and super interested in the topic. And so when you see the amount of, evidence, the things that have happened, the amount of strangeness that's gone on, and the vast amount of reports, when somebody will say something like, well, if aliens were here, why wouldn't they just land on the White House lawn? Well, let's talk about the time that there was many anomalous objects glowing and flying over the White House, never to be identified. I mean, that was an actual event. We have Project Grudge, Project Paperclip, Project Blue Book, Project, the ATIP Project. All of these projects have been put in place to explore these phenomenon. And within each of those is just, massive amounts of mystery, stemming around these objects that seem to move and perform in a certain way that is outside of anything that we've been capable of. And you can trace that lineage of behavior back into the past and into, recorded history far beyond. So, when you start really looking at what's been accumulated in there, and now I see it finally just being acknowledged that the giggle factor is finally starting to disappear, that things like these massive UFO sighting events like the Phoenix Lights can actually be looked at like, hey, that was a highly anomalous event. And there's been so many of these. So I'm incredibly grateful that these things are coming forward, that the videos are coming out, that the information is coming out. And it's a weird gratitude, because I'm always very good at I'm one of those people that sees a lot of information and can draw the parallels and connections and bring things together and really kind of see, yeah, there's something going on here, and there seems to be a core phenomenon, and there is absolutely, government obfuscation and a trail through history. So when I start seeing those things, it's just really beautiful and wonderful that the rest of people can start to see that, because it really is. If you want to talk, well, like a game-changing thought for people, my whole life, my personal belief has been, hey, there is some intelligence of some kind that is coming here in ways that we can't do with our technology or describe, and they're doing something. I know that as a personal fact. And over the years, I've had I've had 2 separate anomalous sightings in the sky that have just reinforced just my unknowing, meaning these are things that should not have been seen based on any description of what is happening in nature to me. Now, I don't know. I love that other people can have that openness and that wonder that now.
It's like you've been waiting for them to catch up.
Okay. People forget that we're flying through a rock through outer space, with things that can hit us, with a sun that can explode, with, all these variables. We're so incredibly vulnerable. But if you lay on top of that, hey, guess what? There's something else out there. The capability of going off planet, of moving, of greater technology, of interacting. There's something else going on here. What is that? forget politics, forget what's going on in your life. Does your credit card really matter as much in a world in which we're being visited regularly by something that's interacting with us in a way that is so far superior to what we're capable of that it's essentially God technology? You know, if you have the ability to move, you know, at like incomprehensible speeds and turn at right angles, and if you follow the Bob Lazar, you know, technology, which seems if it's some sort of gravity enveloping thing, it's also essentially an impenetrable force field as well. Like these are just, how do you combat an enemy that can fly with impunity?
Yeah. Oh, I don't have an answer for that.
Right? But I'm just saying, like, this just can open up so many new ways of thoughts if people can just accept this. And people are so busy in their lives, they don't have time to think about this. And it's been giggle factored to death and ridiculed to death. You see these tiny little green men. Well, if we can open ourselves up to that thought, it's kind of like the idea of what is capable, right? So if I tell a scientist you should be able to travel to any galaxy instantaneously like this, they're going to go, no, the technology doesn't exist to do that, blah, 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 right? Whatever, because we don't have a way to describe it or do it. But if I drop in front of you a prototype, a model, something that's already doing it that you can look at, now all of a sudden, that action alone could be an invitation. And I don't know, I'm fascinated with what that power can do, that knowing something is capable can give you the ability to make it happen, because now you know there is a way. There is a reason to put all of your singular focus into recreating something that's being done, because yes, you could leave the planet. Yes, if there's a giant asteroid or cataclysm, maybe we don't all die. Maybe there is cooler places out there. Maybe Star Trek universe is real. And so, long story short, Bill, the fact that is coming into the mainstream light, and it's just kind of one of those core beliefs that people always looked at you weird for being the UFO guy, that, like, validation isn't the right word. It's an excitement in how other people's perspectives are going to shift and change, and what that can do for just the evolution of humanity.
Yeah, excitement is the exact right word that I would use too, because the shift, and we talk about perspective in this episode too, but the shift in perspective, once you, because I'm on the same boat with you, right? So once you realize all these things are happening, like, does that, you know, credit card bill really seem that important right now? Or, you know, replace it with, you know, whatever you're worried about at the time, right? It just shrinks it down.
And not only that, the
you know,
wonder, everything that you think you know about the world, all of a sudden, open that up. There's something else doing something here. You don't know what it is. Nobody probably knows what it is. Like, already, we got the greatest mystery to try to figure out. Probably the greatest, most important historical thing of all time that's happening. And, I mean, it could change things. So anyways, not to be the UFO guy tonight, but that's what I'm grateful for, apparently being the UFO guy.
No, I think that's awesome. I'm on the same page, and I think it's overdue. I think a lot of people feel the same way, and it's exciting. Like you said, it's exciting to see how the world will change and shift with these new ideas entering people's minds and staying there.
And hopefully people understand, because the one thing that used to drive me crazy was people would say, Bill, they're like, well, if this was real, we'd all have known about it. Like, you couldn't cover that up for that long. And it's like, the fact we're even talking about this, the fact that, like, there's, you know, like, Independence Day, going to Area 51 with bodies, like, well, if that really was the real story, then they blew the cover, or they blew not letting it out. We all know the story. We all know that this is going on. It is baked into pop culture. And so these are the kind of things that I find kind of interesting, that, like, yeah, it could be the biggest known secret of all time that we've acquired technology and whether or not we understand how to use it, that could be the story. So I don't know. It's
Right.
gratitude, baby. I love the gratitude segment. You're making me excited.
Whenever anybody says we cannot confirm or deny, blah, 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 you know that they're probably full of it, right?
Exactly.
But I was going to tie this into my gratitude. I had a perfect segue.
And you forgot it.
Now,
Maybe I'll jumpstart you into thought again.
Well, I'll just go ahead and say it. It has to do with a man who I took a few quotes from during this interview, Earl Nightingale.
Ooh.
He has actually.
Well, who is Earl Nightingale first?
Earl Nightingale, as far as I know, was some radio show host in the 50s.
Great name. I was going to say he has a great name. It had to have been a radio name. That's amazing.
And he's got the guest that introduced me to Earl, Kenneth Brady. He called it an audiobook, but I just found a video on YouTube. I just posted it in the Discord. So if you're in our chats, go check it out. It's a little over a half hour long, but it flies by because what he says is so entertaining and it's so relevant and actionable is the word I'm looking for. It's actionable. There's like a 30-day challenge involved in there with writing a goal on one side of a note card and a verse on the second side, on the other side, and then you listen to Earl, and he tells you, look at the card every day and do certain things. And if you fail or find yourself slipping back into a negative mindset, then you have to start over. So the goal is to have a consecutive 30 days with positive thinking. And then the idea is once you
that is amazing.
That habit enforced, then you can carry that, it's stuck with you forever.
So here, right. I love that. I was thinking about this during the podcast that we did with Matt, but I couldn't find a good way that it was really meshing with the conversation, but I kept thinking about it. And it's Scott Adams with System versus Goals. And he wrote this in his book, How to Win Big and Fail at Everything and Still Come Out on Top, kind of the story of my life. I think that's what it's called. But if you look up Scott Adams books, you'll be able to find that it's a giant foot stomping on a guy on the cover. And he talks about I wasn't the greatest cartoon artist and I wasn't the greatest, businessman. And, I wasn't the best, all these different things. But he goes, but when I took being the best at a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it made me a great cartoonist. And he goes, so, if you set up goals that I'm going to do something and you get to that point and you didn't fulfill what you were trying to do, your goal, you failed. You feel like a failure. You didn't accomplish anything. But if you decide to do systems and say, all right, well, I decided to do this new things, produce music, whatever. And I did it for, 2 years and it didn't work out. Well, if my goal was to become the biggest music producer, of the year, well, man, that's a pretty specific goal. If I decided that I was going to, just learn music production the best that I can, now I come out of it, my goal, okay, I didn't do those other things that would have been nice, but now I have the tools of being able to run all this computer and music software. Boom, that's in my tool belt. Now I go off and learn something else. And before long, you've got all these other tools that you can use and put together. So you never really failed. So your goal, and that's what I kind of like about that you're setting a goal, but your goal is to be in a happier, mindful state often to get that. So I'm like, that is a great use of a goal.
Yeah, goals are important.
Yeah.
I think the more that I look into works like Earl Nightingale or Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, or even a lot of leadership classes that are out there, a lot of them are talking about goals, and to me that translates directly to magic and manifestation. And it's all about it's a mental game, guys. It's a mental game. That's as simple as I can put it. And just a little tidbit on maybe some more actionable, hopefully some more actionable wisdom for anybody that's looking for some guidelines or advice on setting goals. Something that my father taught me is this acronym for SMART goals. And SMART, S-M-A-R-T, each letter stands for a specific word, go figure. The first one is specific. Your goal has to be specific. Your goal has to be measurable. It has to be attainable. It has to be relevant and time-based. So all those spells out SMART, right? So there's just some quick little guidelines for helping to develop a goal if you're having trouble or for whatever reason.
Yeah, that sounds very similar to magical practice with now the word is slipping me. Mandala isn't the word. Sigil. Sigil magic, where you're putting a thought and idea attached to a symbol and pushing it out there into the universe, and then cutting the string and then seeing, if it manifests and pops up. That's kind of a very, very interesting modern take on a very old practice.
Yeah, it's funny that a lot of these modern takes are from older traditions, and
look, there's nothing. Everything's been done before. There's nothing new under the sun. I mean, that literally is true. There's just new ways of looking at things. In the same way that we rediscovered the meaning of a question on the show, like nothing new was there, just a new perspective that shifted everything. So it's
awesome. This has been, I don't know, so far it's been a really fun journey to be on with you, Adam, and hopefully the listeners that come back every week for more. Like I'm just super happy with how things are going. So that's my gratitude. As you can tell, I'm grateful for it. And so if you guys like what you're hearing, we are value for value. So if you feel like contributing in whatever way that is to you, time, talent, treasure, the more the merrier, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. As you're listening to the episode and contemplating, you think of that amazing new question, send it our way. The amazing new guest, send it our way. If you want to enter the contest, email us. Or if you just want to say, Bill, you look amazing today, we'll take that email too. Bill, you look amazing today.
I'll take it. Yep. Send us your emails if you are interested in working with fitnessrebellion.com. The two Matts, Matt DeBarra, Matt Wilbur. We'll probably let this go for no longer than a month, I would say. And then we'll announce a winner on the intro to Matt DeBarra's episode. So be on the lookout for that.
And don't be selfish. Tell your friends, tell anybody that you think would be interested in something like this. I think they'll benefit from Matt's episode. It was really, I liked it. So, but yeah, get them involved. Have them send in an email because, I mean, how cool would it be to gift that to somebody? It's like the coolest gift ever. Hey, man, here's some wisdom and life coaching. I don't know. I
right, but make sure that they do not send in an email that has somebody else's name on it besides yours, please. So,
sign up yourself.
Yeah, do that for yourself. But do please share the show, and hopefully whoever you share it with will sign up for the giveaway also. And I think that's the last thing that
exactly. And encourage you to, like I said, head over to the website. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. Send us emails, 13questionspodcast@gmail.com. We love you guys. We know you're out there listening. We see the downloads and we see them growing. So you're telling people and you're being awesome. And I guess we'll catch you in the Discords and the socials, right, Bill?
Oh yeah, for sure. I will be there. And Adam's there. All their listeners are there. Some guests are there too. So pop in, check us out, say hello. And until then, enjoy the chat with Matt Wilbur. All right, well, we are recording now, so let's jump right into it, shall we? Question number 1. What was the best advice ever given to you? Would you modify it at all today?
So the best advice that I'd say was given to me is from my dad, and it was don't be afraid to fail. That's been a huge driving force for me the entire life. I've taken a fair amount of decisions and risk that a lot of other people wouldn't. But that was one of the things he always harped on when we were kids growing up. Like, if you make a mistake, it's okay as long as you learn something from it. And I think these days, so many people are too afraid to even try. They don't necessarily live the lives that they want. Whether it's, saying hi to that, pretty woman on the street, or it's going for that promotion, or it's starting that business, or whatever it might be. And I think life is meant to be a joyful and wild ride, and we got to take some risks. And the more that we can not be afraid of failure, it kind of lessens the load, so to speak. So I really wouldn't change. I wouldn't change that advice, except that maybe if it was like, if you're going to try and jump the Grand Canyon, well, maybe make sure you've got some really good safety measures in place so you don't die. But outside of that,
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think that stems from just a fear of, just fear, basically. Like they're afraid that they're going to fear being a motivator towards inaction isn't
Fear paralyzes.
Thank you.
I very much agree with that. And I mean, it's easy to be fearful of things in the world, but I think the more you become accustomed to taking a little bit of risk and taking a little bit of chance, in a lot of ways, it kind of lights you up and it excites you.
Yeah, if pure fear, immobilizes you, then what's the antithesis of that? What can you strive towards if you remove that barrier? And like you said, yeah, there's clearly some things that you want to do. If you're looking over the edge, don't lean forward. Maybe you should have somebody on a rope holding you just in case there's a breeze, but that doesn't mean exactly. Don't climb to the top of the mountain.
Exactly. That fear of like standing at the bottom saying, hey, it'd be cool to climb, but I'm too afraid to fall. Like, yeah, that'll keep you stuck for a long time.
Exactly. You imagine what would happen with a mountain goat if they couldn't climb. I mean, the most amazing, thing that they can do would just be, nope, never happened.
No, and to that point too, like I think about, my daughter, for example, watching her grow and learning how to walk. And it's like learning how to walk, like they're falling constantly and failing. And I think we get older and then this practicality, kind of creeps into our heads, and this trying to be completely rational. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think that we shouldn't allow it to limit ourselves or our potential at future.
Yeah, well, when you're little like that, you're falling and getting hurt. And then, things are a lot cushier nowadays. So if you can avoid that hurt, then, yeah, maybe you don't always have to, get right up. Because when you fell down, it was nice and cushy and comfortable.
Yeah, and I think having an encouragement, hey, just brush off those knees. I mean, that's the thing we do with our daughter. Like, she falls down, like wipe it off. She starts to cry a little bit. And she's like, nope, just wipe it off. And then she stops crying. She's good to go.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up encouragement, because I was going to say the flip side. I think kind of the flip side of this equation would be, aside from fear causing people being paralyzed, would be lack of confidence or motivation even. And with you being in fitness industry, I mean, that's something that you probably deal with a lot, right?
Yeah. And it's something that I personally have dealt with for a long time. So that's actually why I got into exercising and weightlifting and fitness. Growing up, I had a lot of confidence issues. Like, people were laughing in a room. I thought that they were laughing about me, like a lot of like really weird things. I don't know exactly where they stem from. I mean, I got, picked on here and there, but nothing like, and gotten a couple scraps and fights and stuff like that. But I always had this like feeling of not being good enough. And for me, fitness and nutrition started to be a place that I could, was like home to me, right? I don't know if you guys ever felt that, but like, I never really felt like I fit in anywhere. until I really found fitness nutrition. And it's like a vehicle for me that kind of opened up other areas of my life. But the confidence thing, that's a huge point. And I'm glad that you brought that up, Bill.
Yeah, it made, because I've had that person in my life to where it's just something like a hype man in your corner, there for you. And it makes such a big difference when that guy is there encouraging you to, keep going, to keep striving, to tomorrow will be better, insert whatever here. So yeah.
Yeah. And to that point, I think what we see a lot of too, right, especially with like social media, is, a lot of negativity at times, people tearing each other down. Like people have ideas, right? Like, oh, like that's a terrible idea. Why'd you ever do that? And this negativity that I think sometimes people don't mean to be that way, but it can really, take the wind out of someone's sails if you don't have that hype person or that confidence behind you.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is beneficial if you can find that person in your life to be that, to fill that role. So, and you'll be helping out, and one of our listeners will be lucky enough to work with you and your company on that, and we'll talk about that. We'll have. Anyway, next question.
Oh, we're building the suspense, Bill.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah. Question number 2. What do you choose to ignore?
Yeah, so I thought about this one a lot, and something immediately came to my mind, and I just wanted to roll it around to make sure that there was nothing else. And it's the news and media. I don't watch much TV. I do not look at news. I very much focus on the things that I control and I can impact, because I think a lot of, we were just talking about fear, stress, anxiety is created with a lot of the media that's out there. And there's a lot of negativity too. And for me, that's not something that I want in my life, because at the end of the day, there's very little that I can do about anything that's on mainstream media or news with the point I'm at in life. But what I can do is I can be a great husband to my wife. I can be a great father to my daughter. I can be a great leader to my employees and my clients. And that's the circle and sphere that I really place my emphasis on, rather than, all the negativity that's in the media, I feel like at times.
Tend your own garden instead of trying to fix all the farms in the world.
Yes. And it's funny, Adam, at times I've like questioned, like, is that the wrong view? Should I try and pay more attention to this other stuff? And the more and more I think about it, it's like, I'll have time when I can pay more attention to other things, but I gotta tend my own garden, and I gotta, try and grow some amazing produce here.
Yeah, I always like to say when it comes to news media or politics that that stuff is perception. It's not reality, and especially like when it comes to politics, right? Like you can spin anything one way or the other, but when it comes down to it, like what's real? Like what can you affect? And that's what you said, like what you're focusing on. So, I mean, that's perfect.
And I'm glad you mentioned perception. That's there's a book I've been listening to recently. It's called Hook Point. And it's a marketing book, but they talk a lot about a lot of different circumstances and situations, political, businesses and whatnot, where certain people would have the winning outcome because of the perception and how they connected. And it's interesting. It's not necessarily always who's right or who's the best or anything like that. It's the perception that you can garner for it and the connection that you can create or not create.
Yeah, perception is an interesting topic that comes up a lot on the show. And which is why we love doing it, because every time we interview someone, it's a new perspective. So that's why we keep doing it.
I love that. I love that stuff. And I think that's a great thing. I don't know if you guys do it all. Like anytime you have a tough situation, you're mad about something, is like trying to analyze different perspectives. It's something newer that I started doing within the past year, and I'm not great at it yet, but it has opened my eyes to a lot of situations where immediately I was like really mad. And then I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Like isn't so bad. Like if I look at it from this other lens.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say, Bill, is what really opened that for me was it's being able to, what am I trying to say here? I just completely lost my train of thought on that.
Perception and different angles attacking.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is one of the things that I've learned is, good people do bad things. And that happens a lot of the time, but somebody's justifying it. They find a reason to do it. Well, I did it because you were treating me in this such way. I felt, that I was justified, or, I committed this crime because I needed the resources because my mom's going through cancer and we're going to lose the house. So like good people doing bad things. So whenever any situation comes up and somebody does something or they're angry at me, very not often do I get angry back. I look at them going, wow, well, what's going on in your life that's eliciting this? So I always try to find a person's justification. And as soon as I start doing that, then because people have this assumption that everybody thinks like they do. They think that everybody's living in their head and thinking the thing, but no, that's not how it is. People don't think of you nearly as often as you think they do. Yep. So as soon as you get over that and realize, as soon as you start thinking that way, then you can start understanding people. And even if you don't agree with them, then you start really understanding how to interact with them. And so, yeah, that's a really beneficial thing. I spend a lot of my time mentally in conversation going down that rabbit hole. It
can be a very fun and interesting rabbit hole to go down. I try and do the same thing when, someone, flips you off in traffic or cuts you off or, is really angry about something. And we do it with clients as well, just when like they're struggling, because 9 times out of 10, it's not just, it's not just a fitness or nutrition problem. It's like there's bigger things that are going on that are causing issues typically.
And everybody's been that guy. Everybody's been an a-hole. Like it like it. And so when I see it in other people, I always frame like, maybe you're having a migraine. Maybe somebody important died. Maybe you haven't slept well for, day. I don't know. I really don't know. There could be so many things going on, and I've had those days. I just wish people gave me that little length of string too. So
I think that's something we can all, work on and make sure we're keeping front and center when those situations arise.
Yeah. Giving other people the benefit of the doubt can be hard sometimes, but a little trick that I use to remind myself quite often, and I'll share it because it's useful to me, hopefully it'll be useful to somebody else, is that since the definition of an average is, 50% is below this mark and 50% is above, well, you can say that the general population, 50% of people have below average IQ. So once you realize that, when you go out in public, the majority, half the people you see are below average IQ, you have a little bit of compassion for them, it's not their fault.
That's a good way to put it.
I don't know. It just makes it a little bit easier and more bearable for me sometimes. So hopefully that'll help someone else.
I like that.
All right. Question number 3. What book has been most influential in your life and why?
Yes. So the Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding by Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's kind of what started getting the ball rolling. My brother and I had gotten it for Christmas, and just looking at, those guys from the 70s and the 60s and just how awesome they looked. And, they didn't look like freaks or anything like some of the stuff that you see today. And that really, for me, that kind of set me on this path of fitness and nutrition, and led to that, as well as, opening a business and everything else. So I got to give that book credit. It's had a massive impact on me, and it's more just the idea of it than anything else.
So have you ever competed like bodybuilding competitions?
Yep. So I've done, is it 7 or 8? I think it's 7. It's been a while since I've competed, 2018, since just, really ramping up the business and becoming a dad. It's something that I've laid to rest at the moment. Maybe I'll get back to it eventually one day if it's something that I want to. And that was a big driver for me in the past. But now it's like fitness has taken on a whole new meaning. Being a dad and being a husband, it's just a little bit different right now.
Yeah. Weird question out in left field. Since bodybuilding has a lot to do with your diet, like what you put in your body, I've been thinking a lot about food combining recently, and somebody on some podcast, I can't remember who it was, but was talking about how you shouldn't mix your proteins with your starches. So like when you have a hamburger, you're not supposed to have the bun. Is that like, I don't know, it's way out in left field. Is that
that is, I don't know who said that, but it's completely false. And I'll go, you can take me to the grave with that and put me on trial. No, like it could not be more false. Obviously your body's demands are going to be, dependent on like you and your activity level and whatnot, but typically you want to have balanced meals where you've got a good protein, good carbohydrate, veggies, probably some fats as well. I don't know who said that, but when you find out, you let me know and I'll put some sense into that.
Okay.
One thing I did like that you said there too, it's interesting because you focus, pulled your focus from, bodybuilding, but really you just put your focus into family building, which is, just a larger, biology of your family unit. So it's in a way, it's like way more complex and encompassing to try to do all of that because you're mitigating everybody in this, great dynamic. I don't know to me, you let the easy one go.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways I definitely think so. I will say like, fitness had never really been hard for me, prior to, being a dad and owning a business. It's been the hardest for me since then, and trying to balance like work and that family time. And then obviously still, take care of myself. And obviously I'm a leader, so I have to preach that stuff, but, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it's, anybody that tells you, hey, it's all easy, man, they're full of it.
And so with the advent of you becoming a father, did you rebrand your business to market towards fathers? Because I know that's something that you kind of emphasize.
Yeah. So when we founded the company, we only really coached men just because, both, my business partner, Matt Wilbur, and I, like, we're guys, like we kind of understand like what guys kind of want. And we had gotten like a couple, female client referrals just because, their husbands were super happy and whatnot. But we had coached a lot of dads. And when I became a dad and I looked back at everyone we've helped, it's been pretty much 95% dads. So it's like, I'm a dad. Everybody that we've really helped has been dads for the most part. I think the universe is talking to us and we should probably go that direction.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're following that little synchronicity, little signpost that you have there. It's the way to do it, in my opinion.
I agree. It's funny. I don't know if you guys ever like go through like really hard situations or something like that, and you feel like everything it's like a wall, like the world's working against you. It's not, obviously, but then it just like opens up and all these things just start happening. I've had a lot of that this year. It's like those signposts, kind of like whether you're a believer in God or not, but it's just interesting how things kind of play in.
Sometimes the forest needs to catch fire for there to be new growth. So, you can take the look of, like you said, is the world conspiring against me or is it really conspiring for me? So yeah, it's
perspective and perception. Mm-hmm. There we go. I love that though. That's I love what you said there, Adam. That's something that I'm going to keep in the back of my head.
That's from Duncan Trussell. He sent me down a rabbit hole of thought of just thinking of that. Like if you think my experience when I'm having a bad morning and like my attitude is just in the dirt and I'm angry and rushing, I'm getting cut off by people in ways that are like things are happening around. It seems to be that this, permeates into my environment and seems to reflect back to me in a way. And I'm like, well, if the world can conspire against me, right? Well, could it conspire for me? Could it be that there's something that's helping? And just that flip of perspective in my mind takes the world from in those moments from being like this super negative to, okay, well, flip the coin, man. So thank you, Duncan Trussell.
I love that. I'm writing that name down right now.
Yeah, he was on Darren and Graham interviewed him on this podcast in one of the early episodes. So you can go back and listen to him there. He's a comedian. I don't know, really funny guy.
Well, I love it. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you change your perspective from happening, like stuff's happening to me to stuff is happening for me.
Yeah, and that goes into the whole like victim mentality and mindset, like the world's out to get me. And at times I think we all like it's easy, like if we're having a bad day to slip into it. It's like, but taking that step back to say, hey, no, you know what? It's not.
And then what's even more cool, in my opinion, is like if you wake up and like your default is automatically to be in the position of like, oh, stuff is happening to me. Like it's just so much more powerful to like switch gears and switch to happening for, like, I don't know, just something I've been experiencing the last few weeks. So
I think that's a great point too. Like if you say like the world is happening to me, right? You're relinquishing your control, right? You have no control over your outcomes. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty negative place to be in. But like you said, when you flip the perspective, the world's happening for me, like you're in control and you're at cause in the world. You're the master of your fate, the captain of your destiny.
Oh yeah. If you're stuck in the middle of the ocean, you can try swimming against the current all you want because you think it's the right direction. But if you just realize you're in the ocean, you just try to swim through the waves. So it's that kind of perspective of just, sometimes you got to relinquish that control, but know your destination.
I love that.
It's a very good quote. I'm going to have to get a sound clip of that. Put it in the liner, Adam.
I feel like the amount of good quotes that have already been dropped between both of you guys, this is awesome.
Well, thank you. Move on to question number 4. What rule do you have for yourself that you never break, and why do you think that it's important?
So we were actually talking about this before the show started, and I would say almost never. I'm very much I'm very much a man of my word. There's very few circumstances where I do not fulfill on the commitments that I make. And I don't give my word out lightly, except for like rare, chaotic things. Like we had originally scheduled this, this episode for another time, and the day that it happened, it's like fired employees and all kinds of crazy. Like it was like everything, was chaotic that day. But the not giving out my word lightly, like really living by my word. We really operate by that, like. I just feel like it's the right thing to do. So many people are just like, yeah, I'll do that, or I'll help you with this, or do you want to meet up? And then it just, nothing. And I think it's such a rarity in our day and age to have someone that does what they say they're going to do and really lives up to that. And like I said, there are circumstances where occasionally I do fall short of that, but I really try to 99% of the time be a man of my word. If I say it, I do it. And I mean what I say.
Yeah. Being accountable, like the whole, like giving out your word, not giving it out lightly. Like before there were, contracts and legal paperwork and whatnot, like all you had to go off of was a man's word and maybe his handshake. And I think we've gotten away from that. So yeah, I admire that about you.
I wish we could go back to that. It's funny you mentioned the contract thing. That's something that we for like the first 3 years of business, we didn't even do contracts, which we probably should have. But it was just like one of those things. Like we don't need to do that. I'm a very trusting person. I believe the best in everybody, and I do wish in some ways we could get back to just a more like. You're a man of your word. You say it, you shake hands on it. It's, it's agreed upon, and, no going back.
Yeah. In my experience with Freemasonry, and this is coming out of left field again, but that's pretty much what the whole the mysteries, the degrees teach you is about keeping your word. And this will probably go over a lot of Masons. I'm a Freemason. This will probably go over a lot of other Masons' heads. Not sure if it will or not, but the whole keeping your word is it's not a new idea. It's very old and it's very ancient, and there are certain societies out there that carry on that tradition. I don't know why I brought that up, but it tied into Freemasonry, so I thought I'd give it a shout out.
I love it. Now I'm curious. Are you guys like, what are you guys' thoughts when it comes to like giving up your word and how you guys operate in your lives?
I mean, you mean what you say what you mean, and if you shake someone's hand, you really better mean it. If you say one thing and you don't follow through, you're really tearing your body in two different directions. Spiritually, not physically, obviously.
I like the imagery there, though.
Yeah, that's definitely something I live by, the same thing, Bill. And it's for that exact reason. It's because it bifurcates you in a way where you're not being honest to yourself. So, you're acting in two incongruent directions.
Yeah, you can't serve two masters.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little biblical on you. I think that's biblical. I don't know.
And I just think of like if you think about internally how you feel, that internal struggle, if you're not being authentic with yourself, like that eats away at you. And it'll catch up to you.
There's also a quality of human beings, and you see this in persuasion. It's one of the pillars. It's consistency. So people want to be consistent. So if you can get somebody to say something and agree to being helpful to you, the chances of them continuing to be helpful to you, aka I ask you to do a small favor and you agree, you're way more apt to agree to do a much larger favor for me or to give me more than I asked for. So when you're doing that to yourself, you're less likely to be consistent with that greater behavior. So it's like if you really want to be powerful in the directions you move, to me, I mean, it's really the only thing you can do. You're truly doing a disservice to yourself. We do live in a weird society where depending on where you live and what your beliefs are and how that would move and motivate you in your life can drastically influence how you live and are perceived. So, today more than ever, that's kind of been, a minefield people have to choose to navigate. But, something that you said, it's that, you didn't really have anybody that you gravitated a group towards, but you found nutrition and fitness. Well, if you were in a small town, that might be a very select few group of people. But now in the age of the internet and technology, you have your group of millions of people. So, your ways of thinking are seen out there, and there's other people thinking that way, no matter what the narrative or the social media is trying to shut down. So yeah, it's a beautiful time for just people being able to come together, even though it seems we're coming apart.
Yeah, I mean, and we kind of talked about this a little bit there. I mean, we have a great opportunity to truly connect and impact one another if we choose to, if we truly choose to be honest and vulnerable and to honor our words. And I know we see a handful of that, and a lot of the people we attract kind of dig that like blunt and no BS vibe. But yeah, best time that we could possibly be in. It's really cool that everything we have access to.
Yeah, if you're bored, you don't have any excuse. You got all the information at your fingertips. Go and find something interesting to read, right?
Yeah. And when it comes to like opportunity or education, the access to information, obviously you got to be careful about like the right information. But it's just amazing. I mean, the books that are at our fingertips right now, we can go and buy like hundreds of thousands of books. I mean, obviously you wouldn't be able to like read it all, but it's amazing. And I think as things get busier, Sometimes you don't realize how good that we have it and all the resources that are available to us when we're in negative spirals or whatnot.
Yeah, and the thing with books is like you don't even have to read those anymore. I mean, there's little apps that they'll read to you. So
Yeah, and that's definitely been for me. I've always struggled with consistently reading, unless it was something I was really excited about. And there's a handful of things that I'm not excited about, but I need to learn and I need to know and be knowledgeable on, because if I don't, I'll be in trouble. But yeah, I love audiobooks, man. It's just like a great way to kill dead time, whether it's just walking or you're waiting on something, like 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. Like, it makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, why go to college lectures when you have the entirety of information that experts and other people are portraying? So if you can find that information, yeah, you can legitimately become like I don't want to say an expert, but just expand your view and vision and knowledge and capability of interacting and understanding the world in greater ways than people have ever been able to do. And on top of that, we're in such a busy world where, with all the things that are asked of us, going from the 50s where one person could, keep, insurance, good food, a house, and a happy, healthy, stable family, to where most people can't do that working full time. So we're always busy. We're always distracted. Everything else is going on. We don't have the time to concentrate. But like you said, there's dead time. There's driving to work, lunch breaks, different things. So now you could still pack in a couple of hours of like solid education while you're doing menial tasks. And, I think that's something that's so new. We're not going to quite see the ramifications of that, but it's definitely coming.
Yeah, and I like what you said about the college lectures. And I think there's definitely going to be a shift in education and whatnot. And it's interesting to think about. I mean, not to go off on a tangent, but my beliefs. I mean, I went to college. I got a bachelor's of science in business, but when it comes to like real education and learning, that didn't happen until like getting into the workforce and building the business and things like that, like real practical stuff. Like I think lecture only takes you so far, and it's that whole system is in some avenues a little bit broken.
we have a bonus question, which I think you might like later. Then,
I dig it.
Talking about changing stuff. All right, question number 5. If I were to ask your best friend, what is the one thing they would say you need to work on the most, and why?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things for this one. I think the number one at the moment is just a continued struggle is balance between work and life. And I've got things on an even keel, but it's as a business owner, it's something that you're constantly fighting, especially when you're like, we're a small company. We got like 6 people. So at that level, you don't have department heads for every single thing. And if something blows up, even when you get bigger, obviously it's still your responsibility and fault, but trying to bring that balance into perspective is just so tough at times, and to show up 100% for everybody that's relying on you, and the pressure and weight that comes with that can be incredibly difficult at times, because it's not only yourself and your daughter and your wife, it's also your employees and your clients, and their families and everything else. And biggest thing I need to work on is balance, and it's something I've been working on, and it's getting better. But that's it for me.
Well, since we already mentioned audiobooks, I have to mention Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday.
Writing it down.
Yep. It's about Stoicism. So if you're into philosophy, or even if you're not, it's very easy to read or listen to, like I did. But yeah, like stillness, man. Like think of I don't know, it's just like a great metaphor for like the listeners even to think of, like if you got like a plank on, say, like a barrel and you're trying to balance it and you're all wobbly, you're going back and forth, right? Stillness. You want to be still, because when you're still, you're balanced.
Yep.
So when I don't know, that book did a lot for me. Like I've been a fan of Ryan's before I read that. So yeah, man, check it out.
I most certainly will.
Cool.
It's going on my buy list tonight.
Awesome. All right. Question number 6. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
For this, there's a few things. For me, there's a few drivers. One is just my wife and daughter. I look at them, and there's just so much I want to give to them, and so much I want to teach my daughter. A lot of people talk about wanting to give their kids the things that they never had, like material goods and possessions. And I think in some respects that's cool and that's good, but I want to teach her the things that I didn't know, because that is what will truly make her successful long term. So my wife and my daughter are two of the biggest things that light up my world and light up my life. And then the other is purpose. From the longest time, I don't know why I felt this way, but that I've had a bigger purpose in the world, and I want to impact and change lives. And for me, that's we were kind of talking before the show, like why I got out of financial marketing right out of college. Like it was a good job, great place to work and everything like that. But I didn't feel like I was filling a purpose. I didn't feel like I was truly changing and impacting lives. And those are the big ones for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that the feeling of a bigger purpose as being a driver for you, I think everybody has that. And I think that the system is designed in a way to make us feel that we're not special and that we're not here to do any purpose of whatever, we're just another cog in the system. But that's by design. Like that feeling that you had when you were younger, that's intuition, right? Like you knew something was off. Yeah. And like I had that same feeling. I'm sure Adam had that feeling. So,
absolutely.
It's awesome. But you were able to latch onto that and then bring it forward up until, today, the present moment, and still have that, because I think a lot of people, they get beat by the system, right? Like they accept that they're just a cog or whatever, when it really doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll say my fair share of times, like too, even, with this business, there's been a number of different times where it's like, oh, like, is this really worth it? Is this really worth it, Matt? Like, should you keep pushing this? Like, maybe you should just go get a job. I've had that voice in my head multiple times, and it's gotten, pretty bad at some points. I mean, when you start a business, you take on a lot of risk. I mean, there are literally times in the beginning where I was going to buy groceries and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to buy groceries, if there's going to be enough money in my account. And there's that fear of like embarrassment if there's not. And it's the only thing that gets you through that. We've talked about it so many times already, but perception and perspective, and then that purpose. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, it can be quite a ride, a roller coaster. All right, question number 7. What was the most embarrassing or humbling experience of your life?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Trying to think which one to go with really here. I think I'll go with most humbling, and that was really like the first time I decided to compete and see what that's all about. I mean, some of the people that are there, and just like the potential that they have and just innate naturally. And obviously there's a lot that you can do with work ethic and not, you know, kind of went into it thinking like, oh yeah, like I'm going to do great. This is, and then you show up and then you realize that, you're a big fish in a small pond, so to speak, or maybe not even a big fish. I was probably like a medium fish in a small pond. And then you show up to a competition or something like that. And you see all these people that are just absolutely amazing, that have like the same work ethic. That was certainly humbling, and it kind of goes back to sometimes like that balance of like thinking we're unique, which we are, but also thinking like that we're the only ones working as hard as we are. When in reality, there's a lot of people that are working equally as hard and some maybe even harder.
So was it a little bit intimidating too then?
Yeah, absolutely. You especially, and it sounds weird, but like when you go to a competition and whatnot, like everybody's like getting their fake tans on, and you're seeing like how people are looking, and you're like, oh, holy crap! Like, look at that guy! Like, I don't belong here. So yeah, super intimidating, man. Like, and you have all these people that you look up to, and I remember the first competition I did, like they did. You do posing and when you compete and to display your physique, and like I did it's like an 8-week posing class, and it was pretty much all women except for there were 2 guys that consistently went, and they were both pros, and I see them and I'm like holy crap, like what am I doing here? And like you just this feeling of like embarrassment, like I don't belong here, but then you just realize that you're just at a different point in your journey.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're able to work through that. Because I don't know, I took not to say that we're not comparing or anything, but I took a dance class in college to fulfill my physical education requirement, and I was like, there was one other guy in there. It was super awkward. Rest of it was women. It was modern dance too, so I can't believe I'm telling this on the air. But yeah, it was embarrassing, and it was a little bit humbling because I had my first introduction to the dance world. Like those people, I mean, it's dedication and it's a lot of memory work, choreography and stuff like that. Like, yeah.
That stuff is like my wife and I, before we were married, we took a couple of dance classes, and I'm terrible at that stuff. I'm very mechanical in my movements. And I think that comes from like just a lot of training. So I don't really flow or move but that stuff is amazing what some people can do and how they can move. And like I'm just a very mechanical, learn by repetition type of a person. But some of the, I'm sure you probably saw people in that class where they're just grooving and it's just like natural, and obviously they practice too, but it's a balance of both those things. That's cool, man.
Oh, and you're using completely different muscle groups and in different combinations. So, I mean, it's a incredible form of fitness, just adding all those different movements are really great. And you see that sometimes in fighters. There's a few guys that have been in the UFC. I don't know if they're currently, but we're break dancers. And it's like that directly translated over into, one movement into the other. So yeah, I always love seeing that kind of, you'd think it's not like a very physical thing, but it can be an incredibly physical thing.
Absolutely. And the rhythm and timing that goes into that stuff is it's amazing. Little tidbit about it. I was really into guitar growing up. I got pretty darn good. I'm not as good now, but I still I learned through repetition and just literally playing things to the exact song over and over and over. It probably drove my parents nuts when I was first learning. But never one of those people that just like naturally picked up the rhythm side of things.
Yeah, I kind of have to put in a little effort to carry a rhythm, I think. But enough about dance and embarrassing things. Moving on to question number 8. What is your greatest fear and how did you overcome it if you have?
Yeah, so my greatest fear is failing my wife and my daughter. It's not something I've overcome, and it's something that's constantly on my mind. And when things get rough or a day gets hard, and then I see them and I look at them, and it's just this massive amount of like, am I doing enough? And this guilt and like this worry of letting them down, and being present and doing all the things I'm supposed to do. Like for me, that is my greatest fear, is like, they're just absolutely amazing, both of them. And I just want to give them the world. And that's constantly in the back of my head, is just failures. You know, I can't fail them. I don't want to fail them, and failure is not an option. But you still, at times, you worry.
And when it's hard not to, right? You've got a lot of investment built up in there, and but you won't. I mean, I don't think that, like you said, failure is not an option, so it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, no, it's at times like it's tough to believe like that. Like you know that's the case, right? You know, like, okay, it's going to be okay, but there's always that when things get tough, that little bit of doubt. And I think there's that desire, and you guys clearly have it, like to be better than you were, yesterday or last week or last month. Like the man I am today is not good enough for my wife and my daughter tomorrow or next week or next month. If I'm not getting better and I'm not evolving, I'm not advancing things, then I am failing them.
Constant realization of a worthy achievement is the definition of success.
I love it. We got more and more good quotes.
That one's from Earl Nightingale. Thank you, past guest Kenneth Brady, for introducing me to that. All right, question number 7. What was the most embarrassing... Oh, I know, we did that. I'm sorry. All right, question number 9. What is your single greatest driving force in life, and how do you further it?
So we kind of hit on this one a little bit earlier, but I mean, it's this like perfect blend of impact and positively changing others' lives. And that's something like internally that is, for whatever reason, it's just very, very important to me. And my wife and my daughter. I want to impact the world, but I also want to give the world to them and do both of those things simultaneously. It's not, for me, it's not enough to just be a great husband and a great dad. Whatever your definition of that is, I have my own. That's amazing, and I want that. But for me, it's not enough to just do that. Like I need to have greater impact on other people's lives. So for me, that's been it. It's never been like Matt and I, we never started our company like, hey, like I want to make $1 million or anything like that. It's like, hey, I know what fitness and nutrition has done for me. And some of the friends that we've helped, and I want to give that to other people. So that's what, that's that purpose, and in my family, that's what does it for me, guys.
No, and I love that because, I mean, is that really a job at that point? Like, I mean, there's work to be done to fulfill the goal and make the ends meet. But, I mean, if that's your driving passion and desire to bring that to people, I mean, why not make it the core of your life and what you put that energy into?
Yeah, and I got to say, some days it feels like a job, but more often than not, it does not feel like a job. It's I'm very, very fortunate to be doing what I'm doing. Obviously put in a lot of work to get here and be in this position, but very, very, very fortunate. Like we talked about at the beginning, like so many people might not be pursuing what they want or living the life that they want, or in some way or another. And whether it's from failure or fear of failure or past failures or anything like that, I mean, if that's the one thing I could really strive anybody that's listening to this is like, take that chance, like live the life that you want. Like And this is in a Jim Carrey speech. He talks about his dad, and his dad could have been a great comedian, and but he took the safe route as an accountant, and then he lost that accounting job. And that speech, that piece of the speech, super impactful for me, because we can fail at the things that we don't like. We might as well fail at the things that we truly do love and light us up.
Yeah, your desire to change people, to have a positive impact in people's lives. It's pretty apparent to me that is something that is a driving force in your life, because that you reached out to us, to this show, to help, to collaborate. I mean, you obviously you listened before and you liked what you heard, you liked what we're all about. And the more that I talk to you and that I talk to Matt, I'm just getting the sense that, both of you guys are just really out there to have we're on the same team, having the positive impact on everybody, as much people as we can, right?
Absolutely. And that's when we talk about connectivity. I mean, where I'm so thankful and fortunate just to be on this podcast right now with you guys, and to be able to talk about some of the topics that we're talking about, and to have impact on their listeners. And yeah, man, freaking best time in the world right now.
Yeah, it is. It's really an exciting time to be alive. Yeah. And we got to help everybody, because, the team is only as strong or is only as fast as its slowest player or runner.
Mm-hmm. And consider knowledge to be up that alley. People can be ignorant, but if you don't have the knowledge to come to the same conclusion, I can think that your views are completely off the wall. But, if you have a new data set, because all of my opinions are based on information that I've been exposed to. So, doing these things, it really is wonderful, because the benefits that you found, if there's people out there with the thought modality or biology that it's in any way could benefit from this, that knowledge can, just propel their life in a completely new direction. And yeah, it's wonderful could you imagine trying to get that type of information, hundreds of years ago, let alone thousands, the only exposure you have is to your community, and which was generally small.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's amazing. You can reach way more people than you would have been living with, historically.
And I think that's an important responsibility, right? If we have something within us and we have a power to impact, and we don't do something about it, that's something serious to waste.
It's right out of Spider-Man, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yep. Well, how do they? What was it? With great responsibility.
With great power comes great responsibility.
That's it.
Yeah.
There we go. Uncle Ben, right?
Yep, Uncle Ben. Not to get all superhero on everybody, but I think that's an important quote.
It is. It is. Yeah. All right. Question number 10. Who were / are your role models, and why?
Yeah. So got to go with my dad, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Those are two of the big ones. Those are two of the big ones. My dad, because he always encouraged me whenever I'd come up with ideas or things I wanted to do. He was always very encouraging. I know some parents, it's like, oh, it's silly, like why, but when I was younger, I wanted to be a musician. That's what I wanted to be, and obviously I'm not. But I was like, hey, I want to play guitar. My dad was super supportive. Helped me get a guitar, get lessons, got like I said, pretty good at it. Not as good anymore. So there's that. And he, one of the hardest working people I know. He owns his own business as well to this day. And just you don't realize at times, like probably the weight and stress that he had on him, providing for our family and still making sure we can go on vacations and do camping trips and do all that stuff. Looking back on it, when you're a kid, you don't think about like what goes behind it. But now, flip side, where I'm a dad and I have a 1.5-year-old, and running a business, you realize the pressure and the reality of that much more. And like anybody, like he have his times where he'd be grumpy or anything like that, but it's just very fortunate for like the values that he instilled in me and the work ethic that he instilled in me, and just learned a lot from my dad. Have a lot of respect for him to this day. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously, it ties into the whole fitness thing. I mean, growing up watching his movies and whatnot, and when I was younger, I didn't know he was a bodybuilder or anything like that. I was just like, guy's jacked, like. But going and learning about his story and where he came from and how he was able to consistently transcend, like, dominate like the sport of bodybuilding and come to America and then transcend that and become this action star, and then to become the governor, and he's a successful business. Like that's pretty amazing. And obviously he's made his mistakes and flaws, as do everybody. But I think that laser focus and that, going after a dream and a vision is.
Oh, I recommend people watch Pumping Iron, because you really see it in his when he talks about building out his body and how he's building it, like the focus and attention that he's putting on. He is a machine that he's structuring. And, if you take that mentality in that, well, he became Mr. Universe just by being some kid who said, I want to be that, and I'm going to pay more attention and work harder than anybody else. Yeah. And now what does he do? Governor, movie star, name the bucket list. He's got a ton of them.
Yeah. And that's pretty amazing. And there's not as many people that are able to transcend that success into multiple different facets and avenues. And for me, that was always very, very admirable. I mean, you can say whatever you want about the guy, but coming from where he came from, it's pretty amazing.
Those stories of people coming over from a different country and making it here are always super inspiring. Do you have a favorite Arnold movie?
Yes.
Good question.
So Commando. I don't know if you guys have seen Commando, but I feel, now that I say it, I feel like it's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger version of Rambo.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, exactly.
It's not even a great movie, but I remember watching that movie over and over and over and over again when I was a kid. I mean, there's so many good ones. I mean, so
you were the kid running around the yard with the bandana tied around his head?
Yeah, pretty much. And then there's Predator, obviously. Like that, I mean, that's a great Terminator 1 and 2. I mean, he's got a lot of great ones, but Commando is the one that stands out to me.
I don't think I've seen that. I'll have to check it out.
You'll have to watch it.
Yeah. I knew Predator was a Predator. So yeah.
Don't expect any amazing storyline or anything like that. But if you want to see Arnold Schwarzenegger, kill a whole lot of people, it's an entertaining movie.
I love action flicks. It's been a while since I watched a movie, actually. But.
You'll dig Commando then. I
was kind of curious if you were going to say Kindergarten Cop or not, because it's not a tumor.
So that's a good one on the list too. Yeah, I mean, but you'll have to check out Commando and let me know what you think.
I will. I'll look it up.
Yeah, no, and you know what I love, and you just pointed it out, sidelining here, but the amount of one-liners that guy has, where if you simple things like "come with me if you want to live." Right? Like if I just say hasta la vista, you're already in your head finishing it up.
Yep.
So yeah, like kudos to that guy for managing to just burn a billion phrases into my head.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, he talks about he talks about, like, studying, the Bible and Jesus and wanting to be remembered for a very long time. And I mean, with what he's done, I mean, everybody knows who he is. It's again, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the marketing genius, the one-liners just to stick in your head.
And a lot of the things that made them so impactful is his crazy accent.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and he
Easy
had to
to
work
remember
very
that.
hard on that. Like, he was, speech for him was a very difficult thing for him to overcome, which is more incredible that he took what you would consider to be like the major impediment and problem, and that became like the iconic like part of him. Not to mention he was like the most ripped person in the world or universe. And then, like straight into movies, like, come on.
It's pretty amazing. And
he's the token Austrian in everybody's head now.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, question number 11. What quality do you most admire in a woman?
It's hard to pick just one. But I'd say sense of humor. My wife's got a great sense of humor, just making jokes. And I think that's, I mean, anybody that can make you laugh or can make a joke or you can joke with, I mean, you're instantly in a better mood. So a sense of humor.
I agree with you 100% because I've been in some relationships where the grasp of comedy for the other person wasn't there or wasn't as strong as mine, maybe, I guess. And yeah, it just doesn't work out if you're not able to laugh at each other or at yourself, or if you get offended by a certain word that's thrown around.
Yeah.
It's comedy is there for a reason. I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy. I think it plays a big role in the social narrative that we're all living out right now. It's a good, example, or just a good snapshot of paradigm, I guess you could call it, for the cultural moment that we find ourselves in. So yeah, dude, 100%. Sense of humor is absolutely a must.
I couldn't agree more. And that brings me back to, like, I think, so my wife and I, we went to the same high school where we kind of knew who each other was. We never talked, but after high school is when we first started talking. Like, our first conversation, I think I can actually pull it up on Messenger and find it. It was completely absurdly ridiculous, where I think I joked about, like, taking her out on, like, a Razor scooter and then, like, running away to Colombia and becoming a drug lord. It was just, like, completely off the wall, ridiculous. Like, I was just being, like, completely goofy and ridiculous. And she, joking and playing along. And sure enough, she's the same way in person. And I'm like, that night, I remember coming home and I'm like telling my best friend, like, half joking, half serious, like, I'm going to marry that girl.
And you did.
Yep.
It's crazy how that works out, right?
It is crazy how that works out.
All right, question number 12. What is the most courageous thing you have ever done or seen in your life?
Oh, I would love to pull, like, something courageous that I've seen in my life. Nothing really stands out, and which leads me to talk about the most courageous thing I've done, which is not really courageous. And it's kind of, I don't know, it sounds so not courageous at all, but I feel like for me, it was like starting this business, saying, you know what, I'm gonna leave my job, start this business. We're gonna make it work. It's gonna be okay. And that's not courageous at all. When I think we're a big supporter of, like, the Wounded Warrior Project and stuff like that, and our soldiers. Like, I mean, starting a business is not courageous compared to, like, what those men and women do for us. So If I think about real courage, I think about, our men and women in the military and the sacrifices that they make, being away from their families and the risks that they put so that we can be on this podcast and having this conversation and having these talks and having the things that we all, take for granted at times. So not to go off on a tangent, but I don't think I'm the most courageous person. And I think it's an opportunity to nod to some people who really are.
Well, I mean, starting any business, especially a small business, starting a small business, I mean, there's inherent risk in there. And it takes a little bit of courage to do that because, I mean, obviously you have to balance the risk with the reward. And then not if it was easy, everybody would do it. Not everybody starts their own business. And to me, another quote from Earl Nightingale, the opposite of courage is conformity. Is that, how am I saying that right? And my point was that not everybody starts a small business. A lot of people are okay not to do that. And that's, I don't know, to me, that's kind of conforming, which, there's nothing wrong with that. But, when we're talking about courage, as this question is specifically addressing, I mean, there's something to say for going against the norm.
Well, I appreciate that. It makes me feel a little bit better.
All right. Well, this is the question 13. What does it mean to be a man in today's world?
So this one is very simple, and we actually, for me, we already talked about this. It's doing what you say you're going to do and leading by action. I think is, for me, that above all and most paramount is leading by example, and really letting your actions speak for everything else, and obviously in a positive light, in a positive manner. For me, that's what it really means, is leading by example. Also, if we attack on other things like doing the right thing, taking care of others. But I think they're very simple phrases and simple concepts, but sometimes they're lost.
They're simple. I mean, they're simple to say, but there's a lot to untangle, to unravel, to unpack within those. But yeah, I mean, I like it. Simple to the point.
I'm a very simple person, as you guys may have gathered already at this point.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Blunt answers, straight, simple to the point. Let's not waste any time. Good with me. So we do have a giveaway that we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about. But before we get into that, do you have time for like one or two bonus questions?
Yeah, let's hit them.
Okay.
I know which ones you're doing, Bill. I think I'm intuiting it and I'm excited.
Yeah.
You got my brain salivating.
Starting to see a pattern here. Well, the first one we already kind of touched on a little bit, but what institution of society or structural aspect of modern life would you change given the chance?
Yeah, it's the education system. I think it is, and I don't want to say I had a lot of great teachers growing up, but I think it is broken, and I think there are a lot of things that kids are not learning in school when it comes to being successful, and actually valuable things. I think there's a lot of things that are beaten into your head, and you need to memorize this, and you need to memorize that. I have a big issue with education system. I feel like there's a lot of failures there, and my wife and I even question, like, are we going to homeschool our daughter? And don't get me wrong, there's great schools and there's great teachers, but if I look at things as a whole, I think there's gaps. I think there's gaps, and if you look at like what the cost of tuition is and like college and the debt that some students are straddled with, and obviously they need to be better educated of the choices that they're making, and that maybe you don't want to spend $200,000 on a degree that isn't going to have some potential to come out of that, I guess. And then that it's tough because it ties back into like, following what lights you up. But yeah, the education system.
Yeah, I'm starting to come to the conclusion that because okay, you're about my age. I don't know how old you are, but we look about the similar. Adam's about my age. The last guest that we interviewed, the last episode that we released, which was yesterday, June 22nd, because I know this won't come out for a while. That person was also commenting on the education system, and it just seems like the amount of people in our age group that are commenting on how the education system sucks, like it's got to be true. Like we're the ones that are now coming of age to run the world, right? Like this is our generation is coming up, and then we're all saying the education system sucks. So we something's got to happen. So yeah, I agree with you.
And to our point, though, in our earlier conversation, we are in a very fortunate time where there are tons of individuals that have skills and understanding that are putting out information and are putting out courses. Obviously, it can be tough to decipher, who's who and, who you should actually listen to. But there's a lot of good information out there. I mean, the amount of money that I spent on business coaches and whatnot, and the value that I learned from that far exceeded anything that I learned in college.
I mean, those are people that you're gaining knowledge, like, as far as like the business coaching, that's directly relevant to the field that you're in, and it's so much more applicable and useful and pertinent to your situation. Like, I don't know, I'm going off on a rant here, but like where it seems like education, you learn a lot about a lot of stuff that you memorize it and then you regurgitate it and you forget it.
Yeah. And for me, for the longest time, like I felt like that warped me, like in some ways. I'm like, I don't view myself as like a smart guy, so to speak, just from a perspective. I just view myself as a hardworking person, and I'm willing to figure out like what's not working. But yeah, it's we're trying to figure out like what we're going to do as far as how we're going to raise our daughter. Obviously, no matter what we do, like we're going to impart our beliefs into her and educate her ways that we believe. But interesting that's a reoccurring theme.
Yeah, it seems to be a pattern, at least one I've noticed. But so okay, we got one other bonus question, and I think I know. Now, this is actually a new question that we got sent to us by a past guest. We try to encourage our listeners to send us guest suggestions or questions that they think that they would be pertinent to the interviews, or if they even want to send us a recording of interviews that they've done with other people that they would like us to turn into an episode. But this particular question was submitted to us by past guest Carpo, and it is: if you could give one sentence of advice to the future generations, what would it be?
Ooh, that is a good one. One sentence of advice. Let me roll that one over. I want to make sure I voice.
No, take your time. We
voice
edit
something
for
the right way.
edit for awkward pauses, so I feel like you're rushed.
So it goes back to that lesson that I talked about earlier. Failure. Failure is not finite. It's simple, but I think there's a lot of power in that, where failure is not the end outcome. It's not the end. It's just a moment in time. And if you can understand that, I feel like, I'm sure there's plenty of other great advice out there. There definitely is. But if you can understand that no matter what happens, failure is not finite. It's not permanent. You can shape the world and your situation where you want to go. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, it's true. Failure is not the end, unless you choose it.
Exactly. So. Yeah. If you do not choose it to be the end, then it's not the end. It's just a moment in time, and you got to figure out what went wrong, how it went wrong. Well, I guess, I mean, that you could go off on some tangents. Well, if, you do something stupid and, you light your house on fire and you barricade yourself in there. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking of like crazy scenarios that people would think about, like, well, like, or if you miss a jump across the Grand Canyon. But in most circumstances in life, like, you can come back from it and you can
Right.
overcome.
Yeah, I can see people splitting hairs already in their minds.
Yeah, no, I thought about it. I'm like, well, there's going to be some people that say, well, if you die, then it's, I mean, I guess that is, well, maybe not even then, because we don't know. That might not be the end, depending on what people believe. And this isn't to get all, religious or whatnot. But so I'll leave it at that.
All right. So we'll be offering one of our listeners the chance to work with you and Matt Dabara too, the both of you.
Yep. So they might not. Matt doesn't directly coach or anything like that. But he's kind of behind the scenes. But yeah, with Matt and I and our team. Yeah.
Cool. So just to touch a little bit on the giveaway before we wrap up, Matt and Matt Dabara are offering a 17-week training course, schedule, regimen, program for one lucky listener. Is there anything like specific you want to tell the listeners, like what to expect, like an intake process or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to just kind of fill them a little bit on like what online coaching means and how we operate and what we do, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there. For as you mentioned, Bill, like there's going to be one person that's going to write in and is going to be selected to win this, but 17-week coaching program. And for us, we have a whole process where it starts by, truly peeling back the layers of where somebody's at, where they want to go. Why is that important? What are their habits? What are their routines around nutrition, around fitness, all these things. And figuring out what are the puzzle pieces that are missing, what's working, what's not working, and how do we put those puzzle pieces in the right amounts in a way that's going to work for their life. And then we build up that plan, and we constantly communicate to make sure that if something's off, that it gets adjusted. If there's friction points, we're hunting them down, and we're really working through a tight feedback loop system, daily, weekly, monthly, to drive towards those goals, where this is not just like, okay, here's your plan, good luck, because you see a lot of that out there when it comes to online coaching. Here's your nutrition plan, here's your training plan. And that is not what the vast majority of people need, in my experience. They need real coaching and guidance to overcome struggles, to overcome obstacles, to impart knowledge and education that creates a foundation for permanent change long term. So I probably threw a lot out there, but this is something that's involved, it's comprehensive, and we've refined over the past 4 years, and we've got a really, really good process where we've got a 90% success rate, and the only people that aren't successful are the ones that don't want to do any work.
That sounds amazing, and I like that you have accountability in there, as people have trouble motivating themselves and whatnot. And I mean, you guys addressed it right off the bat. So.
Keep each other on track.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing, especially when you're taking on anything in the beginning, is that accountability. And not only the accountability, but the belief you had talked about in the beginning, Bill, like the belief from somebody else to push you. And especially when it's an area that you're not comfortable in, or you don't feel like you're good at, or you don't feel like you have under control, but having that sounding board to be there, pushing you, encouraging you to keep fighting, and to give you alternative ways to overcome obstacles. That makes all the difference, because it becomes something too where you don't want to let that person down that's like putting all this effort and attention into you, because you just have that connection. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was something that this podcast is the brainchild of Darren Grimes, who is the host of another podcast called Grimerica, who he does with Graham Dunlop. But one of Darren's kind of visions for this project was to build a men's group to where we could hold each other accountable for, whatever it is that we were working on, self-improvement, you fill in the blank, right? So it makes me really happy that you guys reached out to us and are willing to help one of our listeners with, being being willing to be that person, to partner with them, to be accountable with, to be that coach, to help them to make that connection and to really bring about, a positive driving force in their life that they would like to achieve. So, it's just kind of neat to see it all come, full circle. And it wasn't, it just happened. It was, the universe taking care of what the universe does. So
inspiring for us, as Adam said earlier.
Yep. Yeah. So, I think. One other question for you. Last question. Just in general, what do you think about the project or the podcast? What was it like? Looking at the questions, thinking about them, coming up with answers, etc.
I loved it because at times I think we don't really take a moment to internally evaluate our beliefs, what's impacted us, how we operate, and I think that introspection is something that we could all stand to do a lot more of, and there's a lot to be gained from it, and then to have these conversations. And you guys have both mentioned several times, like having different perspectives and understanding people's different perspectives, even if you don't agree with them. And I think we see a lot of that these days, where it's like, oh, you're wrong, I'm right, and I very much, for the most part, except for like certain circumstances, like I mentioned that about that gentleman who said not to combine protein and carbs. For the most part, I think the answers are not always black and white, like many people paint them out to be. And that kind of steers me away from engaging in some of the conversations that I see people having, because I know how the conversations are going to go. This is the way, this is the answer, where I can value and see both sides of the situation. And it just kind of like steers me away from certain conversations, because I think so many people just get too emotional about their beliefs and can't see the other side of things.
Yeah, emotion is a tricky devil to dance with, I guess.
Yeah, causes all kinds of poor decision making, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm, like I said before, I'm super happy that you found us and that you liked what you heard and that you wanted to collaborate. I'm super excited to share the show with everybody, and I'm even more excited that we get to do a giveaway. So thank you for adding value to this show.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Hopefully to everybody's.
Yeah, in offering that ability for somebody out there to, just engage in the things that you're passionate about, and bring that value to somebody else. So that's just really cool that you can bring that to somebody out there. And yeah, Matt, talk about giant gifts. Like, the biggest thing you can give somebody is your time, and you're giving time and passion. And yeah, it's amazing, dude.
Well, thank you guys for just, it's mutual. Obviously it's mutual, and more than happy to do it. And, we obviously connected and hit it off because we're aligned in that way. And we want to impact and change lives and go about things in a slightly different approach. And like we've said multiple times on the show already, is, you can't do that by yourself. That's done through connectivity and togetherness. And so, yeah, happy to do it, and really excited to, impact and change someone else's lives. And the cool thing about that too, that we see is it's not just one life you're changing, especially if it's somebody in a household, and even if it's not in a household, because it's like, it can be the family, the spouse, the kids, it can be the friends. And we see a lot of that too. And some of the trickle impact. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and this will be the first giveaway that the show's done. So I'm really excited that we're going to be able to stay in contact afterwards and continue to communicate of sorts. So yeah, just happy all around. And
awesome.
Yeah, so last words, I guess.
Last words is really just thank you, Bill. Thank you, Adam, for taking the time out of you guys' day to have this podcast and to have this format, to be able to have these conversations, and for having myself and my business partner, the other Matt, on the show. And so I'm just super appreciative of you guys and what you're doing.
Same, right back at you, man. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it's cool to see what people can do, what people can come up with when they collaborate instead of compete. But
yeah, what's that phrase? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Why is one man rich and another man poor? Why we ain't satisfied? Why we gotta have more? Why your suicide rates on the rest so high? Why I tell you the truth but you say don't lie? Why is being a good father at an all-time low? Why is it acceptable? Yo, why? I don't know. Why she blame him and he blame her? It's useless. Ask yourself this question. Why you making excuses? Why do parents gotta bury their kids? Why we text and drive, not caring how scary it is? Why it's so hard to forgive and leave the past behind? And if you did, then that's divine. Why don't you help your brother when you see him fall? Why do we act like God don't see it all? Why do we call them black, them white, them Asians, and use labels? Now that's racism.
I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why is there innocent people locked up for life, while some people can't say nothing nice? Why do we always gotta question what all of it means? And why won't you follow your dreams? Tell me why. The night when you took my dad, why'd you let me see my grandpa cry? And tell me why. And why do you choose to hide, even though you was born to fly? And tell me why. And why don't we turn from all the hate? And why don't we learn from all mistakes? Why do I keep on wrecking these fat beats? And teachers don't make more than professional athletes? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why?
I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why?
This should be considered entertainment and not therapy. We hope you benefit from our resources available at 13questionspodcast.com. Thank you for listening.